Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play the new rememberbuilding7.org ad. For those of you who weren't here in the morning, the Building What campaign has changed its name to Remember Building 7, rememberbuilding7.org, where we currently, for the new ad campaign, have $76,000 in donations, and we would love to get to 200,000 so that we can reach Manhattan along with the other boroughs. So anything you guys can do to contribute to that, now you can do it on your smartphones or on a laptop and go to the website and donate that way, or you can see Manny with a check or cash. Anything will help. So here's the new ad one more time.
I lost my husband.
My uncle.
My nephew, September 11, 2001.
Most people don't know a third tower fell that day.
The government says fire burned it down.
The collapse of World Trade Center 7 was primarily due to fires.
I, along with 1,400 other architects and engineers,
Found the government's conclusion to be physically impossible.
impossible.
We need the truth about what happened that day.
Go to rememberbuilding7.org.
Why it fell, why it matters, and what you can do. Why it matters, and what you can do.
First, I'd like to just remind everyone to put their cell phones on vibrate. I'd also like to start by thanking Dennis McMahon, who was over here. There he is. He was instrumental in bringing this next panel together, which this presentation on Building 7 has never been done before, and he was instrumental in bringing all these amazing people together. But I'm up here to introduce Dr. William Pepper. Dr. Pepper is an English barrister and American attorney focusing on international human rights. He has worked with and was a friend of Martin Luther King during the last year of Dr. King's life. Martin had read articles of Viet Nam, where William Pepper had been a journalist, and asked to meet with him. Bill showed him from his photo essays in the 1967 Ramparts. When Martin saw the photos, he wept and asked Bill Pepper to work closely with him as Dr. King turned hard against the war. 9 years after the assassination, family and friends of Dr. King asked Bill Pepper to interrogate James Earl Ray. He did in 1978. And 10 years later, after becoming convinced that Ray was an unknown patsy, agreed to represent him. 2 books and an unscripted television trial later, and having been denied by the Sixth Circuit and then certified by the Supreme Court, Ray died in custody. Bill Pepper continued with a civil trial in Memphis, in which he represented the family of Martin Luther King. The trial lasted for 30 days, with the questioning of over 70 witnesses, exonerating Ray, and setting out how Dr. King was killed. The jury took just 59 minutes to so rule, and laid blame on agents of the U.S. state and local governments. A similar scenario followed as Bill Pepper examined the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. As it turns out, Bill had been the citizen chairman for Robert F. Kennedy's 1963 New York Senate campaign. As his investigation of RFK's assassination progressed, new evidence of Sirhan's actual innocence emerged that was even stronger than the evidence that he had presented in the Martin Luther King case. Bill has now become lead counsel for Sirhan. Bill Pepper also convened the Seminar on International Human Rights at Oxford University for 2 years, and is currently the expert to the Magistrates Court in Spain on universal jurisdiction, with an opinion before the court urging the prosecution of members of the Bush administration for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and violations of the Torture Convention. Bill has advised a number of 9/11 victim families has admired the efforts and good work of many 9/11 researchers, and has long advocated the necessity of an independent investigation in order for the truth to see the light of day. To this end, Bill Pepper played an active role as legal advisor to the NYC Can Ballot Initiative, a 9/11 family member-supported campaign for a new New York City investigation of the 9/11 attacks. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to introduce Dr. William Pepper.
Thank you for that. I have a very minor role here today, and I primarily want to pay tribute and recognize the efforts of the families of victims of 9/11. I want to pay tribute to the New York group that have worked so hard to push this Building 7 campaign forward. Ted Walter and Dennis McMahon and that entire group down there. And I want to compliment and express my appreciation personally to the group here who once again have stirred the pot and caused this important issue to be put into the limelight and brought forward in a very important and forceful way. My role really here is to introduce primary researchers, people who have really done the work on this case. I've not done any research. I've read their work. I've been impressed with all of the work of Graham and Kevin and Tony, and from the outset with the work of David Ray Griffin, who has become a friend. It's these individuals and their effort that are making a difference at this point in time. The task will always be how to survive, how to cause the truth that they espouse over this terrible tragedy to survive all of our passing, and not to just go into the dustbin of history, but to somehow bring forth a significant proceeding somewhere in this land, so that in fact the truth can be brought out and given credibility under oath. And that really is the task, and you'll see the importance of it as you see the depth of the work that they've done, which is unknown throughout America. Totally unknown. Now, because Damon has mentioned the prosecution in Spain, which has lingered now for so long, I appeared before Judge Garzon, must be now nearly a year ago, Officer Garzon, and testified in his court, and he accepted the opinion, and Judge Garzon, as some of you know, no doubt, was the man who went after Pinochet from Spain, tried to have him extradited from the United Kingdom. So he's a man of enormous courage. The United States government under the Obama administration it's done everything it can do to stop the Spanish court from investigating and prosecuting individuals who were responsible for the torture and the criminal acts against 7 Spanish nationals. On that basis, Spain does have jurisdiction. The Spanish High Court has agreed. Unfortunately, Judge Garzon was taken off the case. All of the pressures, the political pressures, permeated the Supreme Court. They found a reason to lay charges against him, and so he has been removed from that case. But Pablo Ruz, a much less publicly known judge, but an independent magistrate, under the civil code system, an independent magistrate is not politically accountable to anyone. and he has decided to go forward, and he is going to investigate this crime. He's starting with a subpoena to be issued to Jeffrey Miller, who was, as you know, was in charge of Guantanamo. It's an aftermath of 9/11. And that would be the tip of the iceberg. From there, the investigation will proceed in a timely fashion. So, this 9/11 catastrophe, and I see from the banner down there, certainly was the most earth-shaking, outstanding event of our time. When you look at the other areas of criminality by public officials and by the state, going back in our history, very far back in our history, this one stands out, stands alone for the power and the effect that it had, not only upon this republic, but upon the entire world. Everything changed after 9/11. In my view, and I think the view of many, this republic became a rogue state after 9/11. There were no rule of law anymore. There were no boundaries. They could kidnap. They could torture. They could kill. They could use extraordinary rendition to pick people up off a street and have them sent to Egypt, or Syria, or Morocco. Oh yes, or even to Eastern Europe, where the torturing would be done by surrogates. They would engage in 2 wars. One, as you know, had nothing to do whatsoever with 9/11. That was the illegal war against Iraq. The second one in Afghanistan had the portent of having something to do because forces that we had supported, trained, armed, financed, decided that they were going to take control of their country and espouse a degree of fundamental Islam that was unpalatable. So there was no stopping the stretch of the republic as it became a rogue state. And everyone in this room, every citizen is susceptible. You're susceptible to being even ordered to be killed, as you know. President Obama has given those instructions for the first time, even though Americans and American officials and intelligence agencies have done this forever. Now it has become an official part of American policy. So what we're up against here, and the rock that's being pushed up this enormous hill, is a major challenge of our lifetime, and must be the challenge that we continue in the interests of our children and grandchildren. So there's no mistake about it. The work that people like Graham, Kevin, and Tony are doing has to go on. It has to be absorbed, and it has to permeate the entirety of this land. I tend to find more receptivity in Europe than I do in the United States about the truth of this. Maybe because the Europeans tend to be over the centuries much more politically skeptical and suspicious of their rulers. But nevertheless, they're there. European public officials have spoken out. European intelligence officials have spoken out at various times and relayed a truth. A major problem here, with respect to the work of these good researchers and yourselves, and indeed all of us, is the control of mainstream media. The control of the corporate media is virtually complete at this point in time, and it's very, very difficult to overcome that control. Sadly, even the left has its own gatekeepers, and those gatekeepers on the left are also well known to those of you who try to get this story told. So it's not going to be an easy task to overcome.